You are now listening to Timebite, hosted by me, Stephen Clark. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey there, everybody. It's your boy Steve. Once again for episode 108 of Timebite. And today on the 108th episode, I got someone on here who's pretty cool, who is an editor for ProWrestlingStories.com and an editor of many other things. We'll get to that today. Today I'm with Even Ginzburg of that website. How are you doing today?
Hey, Steven. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so I guess we could start off. What did you go to college for? Like, what was your degree that you went to college for?
I was a English writing major, and later that segued into education because my professors wrongly told us that we would never make a living as writers. So with that inspiration, I segued into teaching, which was always, a good thing to have. And, even during a coronavirus shutdown, you can teach online, etc. So it wasn't the worst advice in the world, but I always tell young people, follow their dreams and go for it and have a plan B, as opposed to you just won't succeed. So go directly to plan B. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible advice. What teacher tells their students you won't leave your dreams?
Teachers plural, Look, it is not easy to make it in the arts, whether you're a writer, filmmaker, singer, dancer, whatever the case may be. The odds are against you, but I would never discourage people from giving 110%, and giving their all. And the people who are the most driven and have talent and have networking skills can put the pieces together. Usually it's not a total package like that where people can put all the pieces together. So often you have good actors who are waiting tables in New York when restaurants are actually open.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, are you a wrestling fan, or do you just work with a website that talks about wrestling stuff?
I am a long-time wrestling fan, although I am not huge on today's WWE. But I like New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor and independent wrestling more so than WWE's kiddie show.
So I'm sure you got behind the Genius Cast when that was still running.
Oh yeah, Lanny Popo's a good friend of mine. He's slept at our house, and my wife loves Lanny. And yeah, Lanny's a great guy, and he's always a great interview. And what's good about Lanny is he could talk about anything. He really is a brilliant guy and an eclectic guy. It's not limited to wrestling. Sometimes I'll meet people who are only wrestling fans, and it's numbing after a while. It's all they can talk about. Numbing.
So what's your favorite match? I know that's a hard question, but favorite match?
Oh, I could tell you in a second. Live, Ric Flair against Ricky Steamboat at the Meadowlands. I mean, that was wrestling elevated to art. They went about 35 minutes, and it was just perfection.
You mean the jet flying?
That's right. Limousine riding, styling and profiling. Yep. Ric Flair in his day, boy, the charisma was off the charts.
Man, you don't get feel like Ric Flair anymore.
Well, wrestling today, I think Ric Flair in his prime had more charisma than the entire WWE locker room at this point. So,
Well, here's a hot take. Do you think that if WWE really want to, because when I see like Bobby Roode, right?
Yeah, sure.
How much does he remind you of Shane Douglas? Doesn't he remind you of Shane Douglas?
Yeah, Bobby Roode's a solid wrestler. I wouldn't say he's Ric Flair charismatic, but I always enjoyed Bobby Roode. I always enjoyed Shane Douglas. I don't think either of them are Ric Flair, but both. Their body of work is excellent.
I know they'll never be like like Ric Flair, because Ric Flair is the man, but like.
Well, you could have 1,000 wrestlers, out there, and 999 won't be Ric Flair. So it's just the way it is. Ric Flair, Terry Funk, Roddy Piper. I mean, the charisma. I'd see these guys live, and the building would shake. The building would shake. So yesterday, Dark Side of the Ring had the Road Warriors. Same thing. The charisma was unbelievable. So. There's plenty of technically, proficient, excellent wrestlers, but that charisma level is very rare, very rare.
Do you let's see, what wrestlers do you see from like the past, the '80s or the New Generation era or the Attitude era or the Ruthless Aggression era, like those past eras? Who do you think would make it today, in today's wrestling, like the most?
Well, a guy like Flair would always make it because the charisma was just off the charts. Same with Roddy Piper. I think it would be tougher for some of the average-looking, average-sized guys who were good technicians back in the day. They might not be as appreciated, but I see the all-time greats could just basically morph into what's needed. A guy like Chris Jericho, he's been around a long time, but he just kind of changes his gimmicks, changes his shtick, changes his look, and he always works. It doesn't matter. Chris Jericho's always going to add to any promotion, any show he's on, because he's just got it. He's another total package. He could talk, he could wrestle, he could brawl. He's not a flyer, but he could basically do what's needed.
Yeah, Jericho's the man.
Jericho's awesome.
Yeah, he'll always innovate himself all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. The Jericho of 25 years ago is different than what he is today, but he's still great today, and he's 50-ish at this point. So, Jericho's timeless. The guy's timeless. And, even when he goes to New Japan, he has the crowd in the palm of his hands. And I think AEW is great, too. Even though I'm 103 years old, I get bored with the old school fans, who go, "There's been no good wrestling since the territories." I'm like, shut up. Come on. You can watch New Japan, Okada and Kenny Omega, and they blow away 90% of the old school stuff. There's been no good wrestling in 30 years. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Who do you like? I know this somewhat can be controversial, but who do you like better, Jim Cornette or Vince Russo?
I'm old school. I would certainly go with Jim Cornette. And the funny thing is, I've met Vince Russo. The guy's perfectly nice, and he was very, very supportive of 350 Days, the film I'm an associate producer on, that we're very proud of. Vince Russo was very supportive. Jim Cornette's more like I was associate producer on The Wrestler as well with Mickey Rourke. And, Jim Cornette's like, it makes us look bad. He's living in a trailer. And I'm like, well, a lot of these guys do not end up well. They do not end up well. I know guys who sold out Madison Square Garden, ended up pushing a broom, or they're working a door at a strip club or a bar or whatever the case may be. And they didn't end up well because, partially the promoters are ruthless, and a billionaire like Vince McMahon doesn't give them 401ks, pensions, health benefits, etc. And when after the movie's called 350 Days because guys like Ric Flair were wrestling 350 days a year. Greg Valentine, who's in the movie, told me at his peak, mid 80s, he was wrestling about 320 days a year. So it's not exaggerated whatsoever. And, what does that do to your body? What does that do to your body taking bumps for 300 plus days a year? So inevitably, you're hurt. Okay, so now you're worried about losing your spot. So you keep going even though you're in pain. I've had wrestlers tell me, Evan, every day of my life, I am in pain. Some of these guys are retired. They're still in pain. Okay, so you have no health benefits. What are you going to do? Some of them are going to resort to pain pills. So what happens next? There's an addiction for some of them. What happens next? There's a long trail of, good-looking young corpses, okay? It's disgraceful that billionaires do not take care of these wrestlers. Disgraceful.
Yeah, it's just that sounds really bad. I mean, I didn't know it was that bad. I thought,
There was 150 plus wrestlers who died young, for a variety of reasons, but that's one of the primary reasons. Pain pill addictions and combinations with other drugs and steroids, etc., so on. But if you're in pain and you're expected to perform, what are you going to do? It's the nature of the beast. Well, how about giving these guys off seasons like any other athlete? It's interesting. Wrestlers hate the word fake. Okay. Is it predetermined? Of course. Is it booked? Of course. They hate the word fake, though. Why? They go, my hip replacement wasn't fake. My 3 divorces weren't fake because I was never home. My kids not talking to me because I wasn't there for their graduation. I wasn't there for their wedding. I wasn't there for whatever isn't fake. So anytime I do an interview, anytime, whatever the case may be, I try to put this out there. And I'm glad that John Oliver on HBO and other people have started to put it out there. And even today, these guys are wrestling with the coronavirus. I'm watching UFC the other night, and I'm looking at the octagon. Some of the guys have masks on. Some of the guys don't have masks on. They're all surrounding each other in this small area. And just logically, I'm going, I don't know how safe this is. I'm not a doctor. But, these guys are human beings with families, with kids. They're not the cartoon characters that these promoters portray them to be. And when they die, people grieve. They grieve. And,
really
basically these guys are discarded like farm animals at some point.
Was Mr. Perfect one of your favorites?
Mr. Perfect was great. Guy was great. He died young too. He was in his 40s. I believe he was 44. So, there you go. As great a wrestler as ever stepped foot in the ring. Tremendous wrestler, tremendous gimmick, tremendous charisma. Again, a perfect package. Mr. Perfect was the perfect name for him because the guy was flawless. Yeah. And I'm jaded. I'm going to wrestling since 1974. If I say somebody's great, I'm impressed. Seriously.
Yeah, because Mr. Perfect is my guy. He is my favorite.
Oh yeah, the perfect combination of gimmick, talent, and charisma. Very unusual. Very unusual.
So since you live in New York, you obviously been to Madison Square Garden. How's it like there? How's that area like? Because I've never been to New York. I've never been in the area of MSG. How's that like?
You mean geographically?
No, how's it like outside the arena, in the arena? Is it like
it's a very busy area. It's right in mid-Manhattan, 33rd, 34th Street, and there's thousands of people, and the railroad and the subway is right beneath Madison Square Garden. So it's always hustling and bustling. And you're outside and they have these giant signs, and all the events that are coming up. It's just a very exciting vibe out there, especially if you're going to a boxing match or a wrestling match or a big time concert, and it holds 20,000 or so people, depending on the event. Everyone's scaled differently, 15 to 20,000. And it could be electric in there, depending on what you're seeing. Going back to the 70s and the 80s, when a Bruno Sammartino, superstar Billy Graham, Roddy Piper walked to the ring without theme music or pyro. The building would shake. The Valiant Brothers, Sergeant Slaughter, Iron Sheik at their peak. I mean, the building would shake. Jimmy Snuka. I mean, I was there when Snuka jumped off the cage on Morocco. I was there when Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid showed up, and it's early 80s, and we're sitting there, and we didn't know what hit us. We were like, what is this? We had no idea. It was like 10 years ahead of its time, Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask. So, Madison Square Garden back in the day was electric. Okay, shoot ahead to 2019. My buddy gives me a comp for SmackDown. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, it's a sea of kiddies, little kids with their parents, okay? It's no longer the blue-collar adult wrestling that I was accustomed to. It's little kids. Mm-hmm. Okay. The theme music hits. They pop like it's Pavlov's dogs. The wrestlers come out. They do their 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. Blaring noise. It's all like a meaningless blur. And I'm sitting there going, this is penance for sins I committed in previous lifetimes. And before it was over, I'm like, I got to get out of here. Because I'm thinking Bruno, Billy Graham, Roddy Piper, and everybody else, that this is actually upsetting me. It's mediocrity packaged, it's basically a circus. And again, if an AJ Styles or somebody comes out and puts on a great match, that I appreciate. That I do appreciate. I would say on every WWE pay-per-view, they'll have 17 matches, including the pre-shows, but there's always the 2 or 3 or 4 quality matches that I do acknowledge. I mean, same thing. What I think is great in WWE is NXT takeovers. I think they're tremendous because they emphasize wrestling, not a circus.
Yeah, they really. Yeah, NXT really. I think NXT is like the wrestling show in the company right now, and people look at Raw and SmackDown as,
and that's sports entertainment, but it's wrong terminology because it's not entertaining. It's not entertaining. And their comedy bits are not funny. It's a genre unto itself, comedy that isn't funny. So I literally can't watch Raw anymore. It's like painful to me, especially with the empty arena. It's painful. I can't watch it.
How about, did you like Nitro and Thunder and ECW and TNN and Hardcore TV? Did you like those shows?
Sure. ECW. Let me break down ECW. People always think about the flaming tables and the brawling. It was great. I mean, I saw Terry Funk and Sabu. It was one of the greatest matches I've ever seen live. What I think was the pinnacle of ECW was Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko having a 1-hour draw. I said, that's art. It's when you got to like the third flaming table, it's like it becomes like the law of diminishing values at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you liked ECW, right?
I liked ECW. I went regularly to To the Philly shows, I went.
Oh, you were a normal at the arena.
I was there monthly for quite a while, and then, like I said, it got to be like a bit predictable. Let's go to the tables, and now you have 2 tables, and you have 3 tables. Now the tables are on fire. It was like, okay, I've seen this already, and New York to Philly isn't around the corner; it's a trip. So then they started to have it in Queens at the Elks Lodge, and I went there pretty regularly. But again, by the time of its demise, I think it had kind of lost its novelty. And I know this is sacrilege to the, hardcore fans, but again, Terry Funk, Sabu, I love the Gangsters just for like sheer chaos, Public Enemy. I enjoyed all of it. I mean, Shane Douglas was great. Taz, all these guys. Tommy Dreamer, I'm not being critical. I'm just giving you an honest answer, my reaction to the whole thing.
Yeah. So, like, how about WCW? Did you go on Nitro?
WCW, same thing, same exact thing. It started out great, and then all of a sudden they're bringing in the luchadors, which was great, and the guys who weren't quote unquote heavyweights, the Eddie Guerreros and guys Rey Mysterios and guys like that, and it was great. But by the time they got down to when the NWO had 137 members and their moms, it was already, this is done. It's done. Put a fork in it. Yeah.
Well, were you like, Nitro better come to the Garden one day? Well, that's never going to happen.
They had a WCW show at the Felt Forum, which was the smaller building at the Garden, and it was disappointing. To be honest, it was disappointing, and it was kind of like again, too many cooks. There was no direction. It was once that NWO just like became everything. It was past its expiration date, as they say.
The bread was starting to grow the mold.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'm glad it happened. I mean, the Monday Night Wars, the competition. I'm glad guys like Eddie Guerrero got a worldwide showcase, and it led to bigger and better things. But it's a long time ago already, and now you turn on WWE, and it's stultifying. So I hope AEW is successful.
What making the turn back into your own career for a little bit. What is some of the best stuff you think you ever made through the stuff that you made?
Well, it depends what your definition of make is. I mean, we made a movie called Wrestling Then and Now, which you can watch on Amazon Prime. Nikolai Volkov, Don Dr. Death Arnold, Homicide, Killer Kowalski, and we made it on pennies. I mean, but we made that movie, so we're very proud of it, and you can see it. It's not slick, it's not polished. It was ultra low budget, but it's from the heart. Mm-hmm. And when you make things, you make it from the heart. I was hired to work on The Wrestler, so I don't know if you wouldn't define it as I made it, but I certainly participated in the credibility of it because I was basically the wrestling guy. We did 5 or 6 casting calls that I set up. I brought in Mickey Rourke's stunt double, The Ring, etc., so on. I brought in Ron Killings, Romeo Roselli, Necro Butcher. I brought in Necro Butcher. I mean, so I was very proud of it. And when the smoke cleared, I think Mickey's performance is iconic. I think people will watch that movie 100 years from now. And when he goes, I'm just a broken down piece of meat. That's like Marlon Brando and On the Waterfront. I could have been a contender. I mean, it's you'll never see a better performance than what Mickey did in that movie, and a lot of it was improv. And I acted with him in one scene. So 100 years from now, there I'll be, and that means a lot to me also. So we also did 350 days, and so again,
Yeah.
it depends what the definition of make is. I was hired. I'm not the director, but my participation. I found a lot of footage, a lot of photographs, a lot of things that added to the credibility of the movie. For those who aren't familiar with it, we billed Bret Hart and superstar Billy Graham as the stars because they have a lot of screen time, but there's 36 legends in there. Ted DiBiase, Greg Valentine, Lanny Poffo, George Steele. About a dozen of these guys are gone. They're gone, So there you are again, preserving history. George Steele is gone. Nikolai's gone. A lot of these guys in the film, are just not with us anymore, and we're proud of it. You can watch it free on Amazon Prime, on Tubi. You can buy a DVD or Blu-ray, 350daysthemovie.com. But, again, if you create art, if you create quality work, that's going to survive. I mean, WWE is a $1 billion corporation, and a lot of their movies, just doesn't do much for me. There were a few. Fighting with My Family is a quality film. I enjoyed that. Mm-hmm. There was one with Ed Harris and Randy Orton. I forget the name of it. That was a quality film. But I don't think the world's, desperate for the Marine 17. I think that's, it's just a choice. And, if I'm going to invest many, many years in a project, people have no idea what goes into making a quality film. The Wrestler was 7 years from start to finish, from the first call to the completion of that movie. It was 7 years. 350 days was 6 years. And much of that is the business side of it. People have no idea. You're trying to get funding. You're trying to get distribution. Of course, casting, rewriting scripts, various legal issues. I don't mean anything bad, but every photo has to be, signed for, contracted. People have no idea what goes into making a movie. So when the smoke clears and when it's a quality film, you're proud of it. It's like giving birth to a baby in a sense. And you put it out there in the world, and The Wrestler was critically acclaimed. 350 Days was critically acclaimed. And it's never going to be 100% I love this thing, because people are people. We'll get, for example, obsessive wrestling fans who will watch either or and go, I knew all that from the two interviews I watched. And I'm like, genius, that's not why this movie was made. This movie was made for a general audience, not an obsessive fan. So
how you felt when Mickey Rourke showed up on WWE television to talk about the movie?
Which television?
No, remember when?
WWE.
Yeah, remember when Mickey Rourke was? I think it was WrestleMania time, and he showed up.
Yeah, well, none of us got rich from the movie. It's a low budget indie, so I was happy for any payday, any success, any publicity the guy got. I never saw him say no to a fan for an autograph, for a picture. The guy couldn't be any nicer, and God bless him. I mean, I wish him nothing but the best. And he sent everybody a thank you card after the movie was done. He's a gracious guy, and I liked him very much. And his real payday for The Wrestler was really Iron Man 2. He got $1 million, and he was hot off of The Wrestler. That was really the payday because, like I said, nobody was making millions of dollars off of The Wrestler was budgeted at $6 million, which is basically the food budget on the Avengers. Okay? If people really understand film.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure the budget for the Avengers is a lot higher, so I'm pretty sure you can pay for everyone's lunch, the whole crew and the actors' lunch with that amount.
Yeah, the Avengers is probably 200 million. We were 6 million. Okay, so
But from what I've seen from the film, because I haven't seen the whole film, but I've seen little bits of it because it was all over the place at one point. But it looked like you looked like you did great with $6 million in your hand.
the wrestler's been out for 12 years. You haven't seen it yet?
Well, I mean, it was just. I mean, like I haven't gotten around to
I'm
it.
just messing with you. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
So like, what's the? Well, I guess I should put it this way. What I was trying to tell you earlier. So what's your favorite thing that you wrote but had never been like produced?
I'm working on a book right now. Wrestlers, rappers, and porn queens. My surreal journey through show business. Some of the interesting people I've met, worked with in various capacities. So that has yet to be produced because it has yet to be finished. So I guess that would be the correct answer.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Now this is an off-topic question, off-brand
Sure.
question, but back in the day, were you a D&D person, Dungeons and Dragons?
No, never. In college, I like video games, and I go back to the pinball era. That's how old I am, but never Dungeons and Dragons. No.
Now you're always when you were younger, you always hit the arcade and hit the pinball machines. And...
Yeah, back in those days, they had pinball arcades. Yeah, it wasn't like home video. I go back to the pre-internet days, pre-cell phone days. I was at Gotch Hackenschmidt in 1908. I was the baby third row center. It's a joke. He's doing the math. It's a joke.
No, that's funny.
Yeah.
How long? I'm guessing you lived in New York your whole life, right?
Yes, you could tell by the Brooklyn accent. Yes.
What? Now I'm from Chicago, and our pizza's the best.
I've been to Chicago, and I love that deep pan pizza. Is that what you call it?
No, deep dish.
Deep dish pizza. Yeah. I've only been to Chicago once, and it was a while ago. But yeah, it's delicious. I mean, it's the old expression, apples and oranges. We have great pizza in New York. You guys have great pizza. It's subjective, which is better. But yeah.
But you guys like fold your pizza. Like, why do you fold your pizza?
I don't know the tradition. In New York, it's funny if we see somebody eating pizza with a fork, and like cutting it with a knife, we go, "That's really lame." That we look down on that. The folding we're used to. I don't know the tradition behind it.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like, if you had to choose between your own state, like New York pizza and ours, which one do you like better?
I would say yours would be more of a novelty to me because, like I said, I've only been there once, so I'd probably savor it and enjoy it more. In New York, you just gobble it down because you're hungry, so you're not even paying attention. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like that's what. What's that place? Sabaro's, that mall pizza. That's what they're supposed to be inspired off the New York pizza. From what I heard, so I guess that's how it's like.
That I don't know. There's some guy with like a major pizza website and cult following. I forget his name, and he goes into like every pizza place in New York and reviews it. Like, I give this 3.5 stars because it's tasty on the palate, but with like great gravitas. He goes into like each place's pizza, but hey, whatever turns you on.
So, have you ever been to Times Square?
Hundreds, if not thousands of times. Lifelong New Yorker, yeah. We used to have a club, BB King's, a great music club, and Went there hundreds of evenings. Yeah.
No, the reason I asked is because I don't know, like maybe you haven't made to that part of town yet, like in your life, because Times Square, even though if you live there, some people haven't been there yet, even
Oh
though.
yeah, you talk to New Yorkers. Some of them have never been to the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building because they just take it for granted. If you're a tourist, these are the places you hit. But Times Square, they have a lot of legitimate theaters, and if you're into the arts, one way or the other, you're going to find your way to Times Square.
What No, I've seen it on TV like over 1,000,000 times, but I've never seen it in person. Were you there when the WWE had their restaurant there?
Yeah. It was a big financial loss, from what I understand, and that went under a long time ago.
Have you ever been to the Nitro Grill and WWF New York before?
I went to WWF New York once or twice for various functions. I don't remember going to the Nitro Grill.
Yeah, because I never met anyone because I know about WWF New York. I know people who went. I know there's people who are older than me who watched wrestling back in the day, been there, but I never met anyone who's been to the Nitro Grill. But that was only in Vegas, so.
Oh yeah, no, I never went there. I've only been to Vegas once. No.
I'm surprised they didn't open it up in Georgia. The company's from Georgia, so it probably would have been smart to open up their own restaurant in Georgia.
WCW should have done a lot of things differently, because then they'd be here. Yeah,
They'd still be around. I would love it.
That's right.
So what is your favorite? Like if we're taking ECW out of the equation, which one was like your favorite that you liked watching the most? That was the WWE or was it WCW?
It was NWA. It was the NWA came to Philly every month, Baltimore, Jersey on occasion, and best live wrestling I ever saw was NWA mid to late 80s. Road Warriors, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, Four Horsemen, Dusty, Magnum, the Russians. Unbelievable. They had guys like Billy Graham and Jimmy Valiant mid-card. That's how talent-laden the promotion was. It was just a tremendous promotion, and live those shows were unbelievable. And that turned to crap too, just like WWE. I mean, later on when WCW corporatized it, or whatever the word would be.
So do you think that territory wrestling can come back if it really wanted to, or do you think territory wrestling is completely dead?
We're in uncharted territory now with this pandemic, and being in New York, where we're at the epicenter. We kind of judge everything by this pandemic, and you have specialists saying there may not be a vaccine for 1 to 2 years. So who knows what's going to happen with anything? And history does tend to repeat itself. So it's possible that there'll be some kind of territory system again. I mean, there's a zillion and one indies, but I would guesstimate that 98% of them are not financially successful. And that's my wife walking back and forth in the background. Yeah, she doesn't realize she's on an interview. So the answer to your question is anything's possible, because we're in weird territory. I mean, Disney could buy WWE and you'll have Becky Lynch against Snow White at the next WrestleMania.
Oh, no.
No, seriously. I mean, you don't know where any of this is going at this point. So.
Oh, God. If Disney buys out WWE, oh, man. They'll probably, the network would probably still be around, or they'll probably conjoin it with Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm looking forward to Goofy versus Randy Orton at the next pay-per-view. And
Oh no!
you know,
Why?
seriously, I mean, if you think this is corporate
No,
schlock now, imagine
no, the guy who killed Bambi's mom versus Braun
Otis.
Strowman. Yeah.
Otis versus Bambi's mom's killer. Yeah.
No.
The matchups are unlimited. So, yeah, it's a weird time. It's a weird time. I saw something online today saying if you're an indie promoter and you risk the lives of your talent to run, you're doing a disservice to the industry. So, who knows what's going to happen? I think what you're definitely going to see, and you're seeing it already, is more cinematic wrestling, like AJ Styles at WrestleMania with The Undertaker and stuff like that. I think that's natural because there's only so much you can do in the ring. I mean, these guys are playing to the crowd and there's no crowd. It's stultifying. Stultifying.
Well, if you watch Money in the Bank, they were playing the Vince McMahon literally in his office.
Yeah. So again, that goes back to my point that it's comedy that's not funny. Yeah.
So, so after everything you've done in like the past, like all the stuff you made and everything, like what is your, like, are you satisfied with everything you've done up to this point?
No, because no matter how old you are, you have X amount of years ahead of you, and you always want to create. You always want to do more. I have 30 years of radio and TV I've done. I'd like to have that archived and preserved, and JP Zark is talking about that with me down the road. I mean, I've done interviews with so many legends that are gone. Sherry Martel, Eddie Guerrero, Lou Thesz, Fred Blassie. I don't want to bore you with an endless list, but, this is, real history. And I interviewed Eddie Guerrero 3 weeks or so after his partner, Art Barr, was found dead in a hotel room. He's sobbing on air, sobbing. And years later, he was carried out of a hotel room. Okay, so, there's a lot of history that I've captured on film, radio, TV, etc., and I'd like to see it preserved in some capacity. As an older guy who was not weaned on computers and technology, this has always been kind of an Achilles heel. So, I wish I had better. I have enough skills to do an interview with you on Zoom. I don't have enough skills to archive 30 years worth of content. So, but it does exist. It exists in my closet right now. So that's a goal for the future also.
What kind of, since you've done radio, what kind of music do you listen to?
I like R&B, blues, jazz, funk, Afro pop, Zydeco, anything that's good. And again, going back to older folk who do, there's been no good music since the Beatles. Just shut up. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Please. You're embarrassing yourself. Okay? So I'll listen to anything that's good. I probably go to 36 concerts a year, every possible genre. I enjoy hip hop. I enjoy anything that's good. Another thing with, rap isn't music. No, you're an idiot. You don't understand the concept of what music is. Public Enemy is as legitimate, a band with live instruments on stage, no less. Okay, etc. So on. I mean, what people don't grasp is for 50 years, quote unquote, top 40 has always been mostly schlock. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? So you have to have an ear and explore and find quality artists and independent artists that are worth finding, and they're out there. Believe me. When I do radio, it's not just wrestling radio. I do arts. I have a show right now called Wrestling and Everything, Coast to Coast, and if you listen to the title, it's Wrestling and Everything. You should interview the guy we had on last week. His name is Pete Bregman. This guy's an animator. He's a video game creator. He's a former wrestler, etc., so on. This guy's an interesting guy. And these are the kind of people we talk to, and we talk to them about everything. And that's on YouTube. It comes out weekly, every weekend. And, again, we're interviewing interesting, eclectic people who just don't numbingly go. Sometimes an indie wrestler will know nothing but wrestling. And they'll go, I wrestled for WWA, WWB, WWC, WWD, and like your eyes are rolling in your head after a while. So it's always good to have somebody with diverse, eclectic interests if you're doing a show such as yours. Because believe it or not, kids, believe it or not, there's a lot of things in life besides pro wrestling.
Are you a listener of Q104.3, your guys' classic rock station?
No. Like I said, I'm more R&B, jazz, blues oriented. I'm a white guy who grew up in a black neighborhood, so my ears are more in tune to that. So you listen to like Kenny G sometimes? No. That's more like elevator music. No.
Elevator music.
I like more like George Clinton and P-Funk. It's not quite Kenny G. Kenny G is very popular in China, by the way. They love Kenny G in China. Yeah.
Or as you would say, get that out of here.
No, I mean, look, the guy's a solid musician. It just doesn't, do much for me personally.
So, what stations have you worked for in radio and TV?
I worked for WBAI FM 99.5 Pacifica for 16 years. My radio mentor was named Fred Giabold, and it was an education. It was very left-wing, liberal, and later I moved to Madhouse TV, which was internet TV, and I was at Village Connection, where the owner is much more right-wing, which wasn't always the greatest match, and right now we're doing a show on Skype, just like you're doing it on Zoom, and I'm seeing more and more of this because of this pandemic. And when I finally leave my apartment in 2027, I'll have a strong body of work. Okay, joking, but
yeah. So what got you what got you connected with JP to work on ProWrestlingStories.com? Like, how did that start?
JP was doing quality work, leaning more towards history, where he cared about the writing, where writing actually mattered, unlike many sites which are a bombardment of information, overzealous. A lot of these websites are an overzealous reviewing of a meaningless Raw. Let's go over every match, every angle, every result. Let's analyze it. I just never got into that. There are guys that do move-by-move reviews of Raw and SmackDown. I'm like, God, kill me now. Kill me now. I can't read this. I can't watch this. So JP set his sights, far, far higher. Much respect. And this is what I tell everybody. Do something different. Find your niche or niche, however you care to pronounce it. And do something that will stand the test of time. JP will do a well-researched article with feeling. Now, God forbid you put feelings into wrestling writing. Okay? And it'll stand the test of time. He can run these articles forever. I've written articles for JP on what it was like to sit at Madison Square Garden when a Bruno Sammartino walked down the aisle, because a lot of the younger guys are going, well, he was just punching and kicking. If you weren't there, you didn't get it. I mean, what? No, he wasn't Harley Race or Nick Bockwinkel or Ricky Steamboat. He wasn't the great technical wrestler that these guys were. But let me tell you, the charisma was off the chart. And people loved that man. They loved that man. He wasn't a cartoon to them. Okay? So when Bruno lost the belt at Madison Square Garden to Ivan Koloff, I wasn't there, but everybody that was there said you could hear a pin drop and people were crying. Okay?
Oh, man.
So, so if you weren't there and you're just judging it on, well, I would only give that match 3.25 stars or whatnot, they didn't get it, because Bruno would make a comeback much like Hogan years later, and the place would just erupt. I was at a match, Bruno against Billy Graham, and Gorilla Monsoon was the referee. So Graham all of a sudden goes like this, and he quits, and he goes back to the dressing room. So Billy Graham runs into the dressing room, throws Monsoon over his shoulder, dumps him back into the ring. It was a roar like you could hear it 10 blocks away. I mean, today they would have to do 87 high spots to get half the reaction that Monsoon did dumping Graham back in the ring. I mean, so it's hard for younger fans to really grasp that. And, they're judging it from like a whole different, look, I love AJ Styles. I love Cesaro. I love these guys, Okada, Kenny Omega. These guys are unbelievable. Tanahashi, unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. But, the sheer charisma of a Bruno is hard to grasp on an old film that you're watching on YouTube. It really is.
So like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like, oh, I know how it's like, because I don't know how it's like. I wasn't there for like when Bruno Sammartino was in his prime and everyone was shaking up the building.
But if you go to see, let's say, New Japan in the States or even Japan, and you see an Okada or a Kenny Omega who has incredible charisma and the fans are totally into it, you are experiencing something on that level. If you're at Wrestle Kingdom and there's 40,000 people watching Okada in a 5-star match, or as Meltzer would say, a 6 or 7-star match, it's, you're experiencing it because you could feel it. You could feel it. I'll go to see like Randy Orton live in 2020, and I'm numb. It's the exact opposite.
I think the closest to that feeling I ever got was when. Remember when they did the Australia show and they came back to Chicago for Raw?
No, because it's all a meaningless blur to me, Raw. Sorry. No,
it's all right. But what happened was that they did their super show in Australia, and then that following Monday they came here to Chicago for the Raw that Monday, and DX came back. They came back and they were challenging Undertaker and Kane to the match at the Saudi show, right. and when they ripped off their shirts to show those DX shirts, the building went crazy.
Yeah, those guys are legitimate charisma. I mean, yeah, I get that. I get that. You can't manufacture charisma. Okay, McMahon can push Baron Corbin from here to tomorrow. He's not Shawn Michaels. I mean, no matter how hard you push him, he's just not, and he's never going to be. And people are what they are. And again, a total package like an Undertaker who has charisma, has a great gimmick, can also wrestle. He's a total package, and that's few and far between. McMahon has this body, beautiful, cookie cutter. They all have to look, like this perfect male model thing. And a lot of these guys have no charisma, zero. You know, six pack of abs doesn't make you a great wrestler.
So, what's your I guess this is our goofy question, but what's your favorite place? What's your favorite place to go? Like what's like? Do you like going to like a little ice cream shop down the corner, like or something like?
My favorite place to go is the BAM Brooklyn Academy of Music R&B Fest. It's an annual festival of great bands leaning towards R&B, but not. I just love that place. It's you put me in a great live concert. You forget everything that's going on, and you just Lincoln Center, Out of Doors Fest, Summer Stage. I don't know if these names mean anything to you. You're 1,000 miles from me, but a great music festival. Where people are happy, every age, every race, creed, color. Everybody's getting along. Nobody's fighting like on Facebook 24/7. It's just a happy place. I love going to indie shows. Local indie shows for wrestling. It's kind of like my Cheers. Everybody knows you. They're happy to see you. They know you're supportive. And I get in the ring. I do indie heel managing, which you could probably tell from some of the obnoxious things I've said this interview.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's places where you're just happy, where it's an escape. The internet is not an escape. The news is not an escape. In fact, in New York, it's basically a nightly casualty report. Last night, quote unquote, only 188 people died from the virus. Only. How sad, man. How sad. It was 800 plus a couple of weeks ago, every night in New York. This is what you go to sleep to. So, yeah, put me at a concert. Put me at an indie wrestling show. Put me at a boxing show. Put me somewhere where, all you're thinking about is what you're watching and enjoying. And, yeah, that's why people go out. That's why people, and God knows when that's going to happen again. I mean,
is the pandemic so bad in New York right now? You'll get like arrested if you step 2 steps outside your house right now. Is that how bad it is?
No. It's not like martial law, but if you're not wearing a mask, if you're not wearing gloves, people will look at you, get angry. It's serious here. I mean, we basically the entire news is about the pandemic, and they'll throw in a weather report, and you go, "Who cares? I'm not going out anyway." That's how bad it is. It's going to be 80 degrees on Friday. Go. That's nice if I choose to walk to the supermarket with a mask and gloves, and but it's not like you're going to go to have a beach day here. It's basically we're told to stay home unless you're essential workers or need food. Everybody needs to eat, so you have to go to the grocery store or whatnot.
I hear you guys in New York have great delis.
Oh yeah. These old school Jewish delis, great. Yeah.
What's your favorite deli in New York?
Carnegie Hall Deli was always good. Katz's on the Lower East Side is a tourist destination. They've been there over 100 years, I believe. When Harry Met Sally did a scene in there. Katz's, Katzs. Not that they need my publicity. It's a huge outfit, but yeah, the old school, deli sandwiches in New York. It's packed. Yeah, that's a treat. You're making me hungry, man. It's like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's okay.
I'm gonna make you run to that supermarket one way or another.
That's right. I'm gonna have to put on the hazmat suit and go get some deli.
That's probably the safest way to be walking around these days.
I know people working in hospitals. They look like they're going on a space mission. It's really sad. It really, they wear those outfits, and oh my God, the subways are horrendous, and this is not a happy place. 2020, New York City. That's why I'm happy to do interviews like this. It distracts me for a while.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
So, I don't know how close you live to Times Square, but could you actually, when they do the New Year's Eve thing every year, where they drop the ball, can you hear it from your house?
No. We have 5 boroughs in Queens. Manhattan, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, and Brooklyn. And I don't live in Manhattan itself. Manhattan itself is very, very expensive. It's kind of a playground for the rich. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment, you're going to fall out of your chair, is about $3,800 a month. $3,800 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. So many of us live in the outer boroughs just because it's significantly cheaper.
So, do you actually go to the, since you're a concert guy and a wrestling guy and like going to live things, are you one to go to that ball drop every year?
No. Again, if you're a New Yorker, that's like one of the things you take for granted. So you don't go. It's like it's always there. I'll do it next year, and then you never end up doing it. So that's more for tourists. Yeah, generally in New York, New Year's Eve is bitter cold. You have to get there like 5 o'clock. You're standing there till midnight. You're basically trapped, God forbid you have to go to the bathroom. You're in trouble. I mean, and I'm not a kid anymore, so to stand for 7 hours, just really doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see you're a tourist, you're 20 years old, it's something exciting, and hopefully 2021 will be a better year than 2020. So, yeah, I could see, if this pandemic's still going on, I don't even think they'll allow it this year. They're not gonna put tens of thousands of people out in the street together like that. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, this pandemic is like, do you know how when we moved from like 99 to 2000 we had Y2K?
Yeah, but that was a work. This is real.
Yeah, I feel like the COVID thing is this new decade's thing that's like the Y2K from 99 to 2000.
But Y2K, the myth was everything was going to shut down. We're really shut down in New York. We're really shut down. The schools, the restaurants, the gyms, the movie theaters. It's no joke. I mean, this is basically house arrest.
Yeah, I see your governor on our news station every day going like this, like everyone gotta stay home.
Oh yeah, they don't play. It's so people have to understand. For example, when 9/11 happened, it happened to New York and Washington. Just because somebody lives 1,000 miles away or 3,000 miles away, it doesn't mean it's not very, very, very real. Because it's real to us. I basically sat in a 1-bedroom apartment for the past 2 months. It's not glamorous. except to go to the supermarket, drugstore, maybe brief takeout food or whatnot, where you can pick up lunch or dinner. You can't even sit there. You're not allowed to sit in these places. So it's basically, think like everything you possibly enjoy being suddenly taken away from you, and you're stuck in an apartment. I know people sitting in 300 square feet studio apartments right now, basically climbing the walls. The suicide rate has doubled in Queens, New York. Doubled. That's how serious this is. In 2 months. What happens if this goes on for 2 years? Spousal abuse, divorces, suicides, relapses into addictions. This is not a happy scenario, at least in New York and other places that are hit very, very hard. So, you have to take it seriously, and not everybody does. And, I think there's going to be real repercussions for the people who don't take it seriously. And, viruses don't discriminate. They don't care Republican, Democrat, young, old. There's kids getting this virus. Yeah, sure. Older people with poor immune systems will get it more frequently, but there's kids getting it too. It's no joke. I've seen babies die. They have it on the news here. Babies. So it's not like bummed out all your viewers. Anyway.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like, what am I trying to say? Yeah, we've been going for an hour, by the way. But for the last question, I want to ask, do you think they're working hard on a cure for this virus? Do you think there's any effort in making a cure of this thing at all right now?
Oh yeah, they said there's 108 different vaccines. They're hoping that one of the 108 actually work. The trials for these vaccines. They say they're working frantically, furiously, but one doctor after another is saying it most likely will not happen in 2020, and it likely will happen in 2021. I mean, tuberculosis exists in the world today, but it's just, much, much, much less. I mean, there's various diseases that are under control, but they still exist. This could very well be a similar scenario where one day it's under control, and, hopefully it's coming soon, because I certainly can't sit home and watch Raw and SmackDown. I need to get out of the house.
Yeah. So, to finish it off, is there anything do you have anything you want to ask me out of curiosity before we?
Sure. Let me think now. So this kind of comes back to what I'm doing. How would you, as somebody younger and more tech savvy than me, get the word out on a quality show that you're doing?
How would I get the word out? So usually what I do is like I'm into this thing. I'm into like going to like conventions, like where like people dress up as characters and things, and they go to conventions, Like
yeah.
I go to those things. So I have business cards and I hand those out, but pretty soon after this whole pandemic's over, I'm gonna be buying. I'm gonna get these trading, like these baseball card looking things made, and they're gonna have my social media on the back, so I can hand.
But what do you do? What do you do meanwhile during the pandemic? Let's say this pandemic, you're stuck. You're basically stuck home the next 6 months, 1 year, whatever the case may be. How would you promote your show using your tech savvy?
I usually go on Facebook, and I join a bunch of like podcast groups, and I just throw like hey, I got a podcast, check me out. Like, I don't I don't do this really long description. I just tell them like what I do, what kind of podcast it is, and hopefully they enjoy like my because for me it's just like I'm flying off the seat of my pants sort of thing.
Oh yeah, well I respect that because when somebody has a list of 20 questions and they're reading off of a list, it could be numbing. So yeah, I respect that you're rolling with it. Yeah, that's the way to do radio or TV or whatever you would call this.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is all like I don't know if I forgot to tell you before we start recording, but like it's an audio recording, so like
Oh, it's not on video.
yeah, that's fine, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
we can make those DJ dreams come true.
Yeah, yeah, whatever works for you. Um, and why do you prefer that?
Audio over video
Yeah,
because audio, if you're like sitting in because it's audio when you're like sitting in your car and you're going somewhere, you can listen to my podcast still.
right, right, right.
It's like when you do video. I mean, yeah. I mean, I technically this whole time could have recorded video of every single interview I'd done, whatever. But half the time people don't want to show up on camera, so and they don't want to just see me talking to
Oh
air.
yeah, I mean, I do my show on Skype and it's on video, and looking at three guys' heads for an hour isn't that exciting, but but for whatever reason, my engineer just prefers it. I don't even know the tech reasons, but he just prefers it, and we roll with it. Yeah.
But audio only, it's the best way because then if it's audio only, people can listen to it anytime. They can listen to it in their car. They can listen to it while they're doing stuff.
Right, 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 right. No, I
Yeah,
understand. I understand.
and
Yeah, so I wish you luck with the show, and thanks for taking the time out and talking with me. Now I feel like I'm interviewing you. Yeah, it's like we
well,
switched roles.
if you're doing something you want to have me on, I'll be down to be on there if you'd
Yeah.
like me.
So you do cosplay?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm sort of working on it. It's like I'm sort of getting there.
I know some New York Ghostbusters guys. They've done my show, and yeah, various cosplayers. It's interesting. I mean, it's an art like anything else. I
Yeah,
respect I respect anything that's done artfully. Anything that's artful is an art. So I've had on drag queens, drag kings, cosplayers. Anybody that's interesting. Interesting guest. Yeah.
yeah, I love the cosplay. I love cosplay, man. It's awesome. And obviously the Ghostbusters are obviously makes sense in New York because they're from New York. So
Yeah, these guys are called New York Ghostbusters. Randy Unger, he does a show out here also. Yeah, look, you only go around once. Do what you enjoy, whatever works. And the opposite extreme, if something is not enjoyable, like people tell me every week, they go, I sit through Raw and it's horrible. And, oh my God. So I'm like, well, why are you sitting through 3 hours of it if you're not enjoying it? You know?
so I guess I'll do my outro and I'll let you do yours. Um,
Sure.
well, I want to thank everyone here for listening to episode 108 of Cyber Timebite. You can find me on Facebook at Cyber Timebite. You can follow me on Twitter at NostalgiaVant. You can buy my merchandise at redbubble.com under Crash Steven Gear, where even you know that the spork is most powerful of them all. You like the spork, don't you? You New Yorkers love the spork.
I have no idea what that is. Yeah.
The spoon and the fork put together.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You love it. You love it, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. How about you? Where can people find you and all your stuff?
Wrestling and everything, coast to coast on YouTube. Check out Wrestling Then and Now, the movie on Amazon Prime. Check out 350 Days, 350daysthemovie.com. Bret Hart, Superstar Billy Graham, Greg Valentine, Tito Santana, 3 Dozen Legends. Yeah, check out Evan Ginzburg's Old School Wrestling Memories on Facebook. And, I'm not hard to find. EvanGinzburg. And Pro Wrestling Stories, Pro Wrestling Post, Gorilla Position, tons of articles you can read, leaning more towards history, but not always.
Well, I had a great time with you. You're so interesting to talk to. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Same to you. Same to you. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
no problem. So,
Okay.
so for everyone listening, I hope all of you have a great day. Have a good one.